Welcome to TIA Talks. My name is Jason, your host, and today is an amazing day for me because this is not only the first episode of our new season, which actually ties in with what's happening on SABC3 soon. On the 17th of July, Riots, welcome. You are the founder and I would say CEO of TIA. Welcome. Mpumi, you are a very special guest today. Every week we have, or every month, every episode, we've got better and better guests. And today I feel like I've got the best guests. I've got the most powerful guests I've ever had in the studio. So I'm very, very, very chuffed to have you here. Mpumi, I'm very nervous to actually have you across the table. I've never been nervous for this. So it's actually, it's incredible to have you. Mpumi, for those who don't know who you are you and why are you here?
Well, the name is Mpumi Chikwe. I like to remind people that I'm turning 60 this year. So
thanks for the reminder, because I wouldn't have guessed.
Like so that they can say dad and so on. But generally, I'm here because I'm the chief executive officer of Sasria, and I've been in that role for just over 3 years now.
Sure. And for those who don't know what Sasria or represents or who they are, you want to give us a little bit of background on who they are?
Yes. Oh, definitely. That's the part I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Sasria was created in 1979. Just after well, it's not just after, but 3 years after the student uprising, for June 1976.
Yeah.
As you will recall, maybe Jason, you're too young. No, you wouldn't.
But it's ingrained in my history books of school.
Exactly.
And,
16
June 1976.
No, I remember it quite well. I think I was just 11 years when that happened.
So that was actually very real for you at the time.
Yes,
too.
exactly. I was at primary school at the time.
Man.
And yes, so post that event, most insurers, in fact, all the private sector insurers in South Africa, felt that they could no longer insure what we call special risks. So special risks are terrorism, cover for terrorism. If your property gets damaged due to terrorism, it gets damaged due to political or non-political protests. That's something we can get into later on. Or if you have a labor dispute going on at your work premises, and then there's a protest, and then the property gets damaged. So those are the four things that as Sasria we cover. So we're formed in 1979, just after, as I said, the 1976 uprising. And we went on until I think the most significant event that we've had now is the July 2021 event. So when you speak of Sasria, even though the time span is about 43 years before July 2021, is you speak about July, what happened in July 2021, and what happened in 1976. What I always say, companies like Sasria are born out of trauma, out of pain that society goes through. And then there's some violence, and then thereafter, a government-backed entity is created to cover these special risks. So as a way of example, for instance, one of the oldest one is based, a company like Sasria is based in Spain, and it was formed way back in the 1941, 1942. Yeah. This was due to the civil war that was going on in Spain. And if you look at the US experience, which is more recent, is because of is it September 11? So after those Twin Tower terrorism attacks, the American government created an entity like Sasria, except that in the US it's based within the government, and in other countries it's normally a separate standalone insurance company.
So we actually were the forerunners.
Oh yes, definitely.
Definitely.
South Africa was a forerunner. I would like to believe it's created along the images of the French one.
Yeah.
The second one was the French. So the two things that South Africa and the French have in common is the love to protest. So those two nations, basically, those are the protest capitals of the world.
Wow.
So in France, it was formed after World War II.
Yeah.
So that's when they created an entity like Sasria, and then Sasria is definitely a number 3, yes.
Yeah. I find that fascinating. I wish I knew this before this. I feel like I should have researched more and done this. Maybe that's why Sasria was the reason why I left the competition, TIA, because honestly, it's incredible the work that you guys do. And I'm a broker. I'm an
Yes.
insurance broker, and I sell Sasria
Yes.
coupons,
Yeah.
you know, and I just find that it's for such a small premium on your policy, you can contribute to the larger pool to make South Africa a safer nation and to almost protect an individual's life, you know, and the uncertainty that it kind of brings. Because I really do believe that there's risks in SA that are very unique to our country. I mean, yes, we've got unrest and all sorts of things similar to other countries like France.
Yes.
But I feel like there's a specific cultural and a specific kind of traditional way of doing things in Africa that is very, very different. And I think Sasria has encompassed that in a way. As a broker, I just say that because I've seen what you guys have done for us through COVID and what happened in that time and through the fires and things like that. You know, I mean, COVID obviously wasn't a direct player, but it was the conversation around how do we get everyone involved, and Sasria was a big player with the conversation. So kudos to Sasria.
No, thank you.
And
Thank you.
it actually gives me goosebumps. You know, because I just find that we firstly have the innovation and the foreknowledge of what we could expect here, and we are putting things in place to actually prevent that from really affecting our economy like it could, you know.
Exactly. I mean, you know, what I always say is that you know, companies like Sasria globally, they are there when the country needs them the most, and it's been proven. I mean, during July 2021, for instance, I mean, that event happened over 9-10 days. And the end cost to Sasria was 32 billion rands.
Man,
you know, so by any measure, that was one of the biggest claims globally, not just from a South African or African or African context. And who would have said that it would have taken so long for us to sort of get there, and we're able to respond. And as you correctly say, Jason, I mean, now there are risks that we're identifying. I mean, you touched a little bit about COVID, but the other area that is Sasria now we have to look at is the climate change effects. So you'll have seen, for instance, in the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal and the Western Cape, you know, about just as recent as 6 weeks ago, in the Eastern Cape, over 100 people lost their lives. People were building on a flat line. So if Sasria were to be an insurer of climate change risk, because again, the private sector is saying, you know what, this is not an area we are keen to insure anymore because of various reasons. So
there has to be
government,
insurance some way.
exactly, government, can you step in and provide us with the cover? And that's what we are working on now, is to say, how can we respond to these challenges and better manage the risk? So if you have an entity like Sasria, it's proven, one, the quality, the recovery period after the disaster is much more faster. You know, you are able to pump in money back into the economy so quickly, and people,
And you guys do pay claims quickly.
Exactly.
I think that's a common misconception that I find in the industry, and I want to clarify it for those people out there that have tuned me about Sasria. I know that you guys pay claims quickly.
Exactly. So that's the thing. You can get that money quickly. The second part is that you start improving the risk management. So you start saying, okay, you know what? If, for instance, we were to insure an earthquake, what you find that in countries where there is earthquake insurance, the building standards are much more higher because the insurance industry forces whoever is constructing, they say, we won't provide you with the cover unless you meet these particular standards.
And we're kind of seeing that trend here at the moment.
Exactly. So that's the second role that we play, is to improve the risk and make sure that also less lives are lost. I mean, if people built in the right areas, sadly in the Eastern Cape, I mean, that's where I come from, and so on, you know, less lives would have been lost if we had something like that.
And the preventative measures that, because it is preventative, this risk management kind of structures that we put in place.
Old adage, prevention is better than
the cure.
Exactly. So if you put measures to prevent things from happening,
Why
it
do we
works
need
much,
the
much more.
insurance?
For that one,
For that little-
for that one, which just escapes. I mean, there's something that always annoys me. Whenever there's a flooding, let's say here in Gauteng, Centurion is gonna be a dam.
Yes.
And you're like,
Yeah.
someone needs to wake up and say something needs to be done. From an engineering and managing the flow of water in those circumstances and so on. So that's what we are there for. We think about these things way ahead, and then we put measures in place to avoid them from happening.
I think you've touched on some great things there, but something that I've picked up on was the great minds at Sasria thinking of all these innovative ways to kind of prevent and also create products that will align to these risks. And Riots, we haven't even said hi to you yet. And we went through what Sasria does, and I just got so zoned in. Riots, speaking of the minds and the guys that come up with these ideas, I know that you are heavily invested in TIA, the Insurance Apprentice, and you can tell us what you did and how this thing came about. But you are the brain behind it, and you have nurtured young talent across the industry, and you are known to do that for a lot of people. I mean, look at me. I'm sitting here because of you. And I'm actually extremely grateful for that. I would never have the opportunity to speak to somebody like Mpumi if it wasn't for you. So firstly, thank you. And secondly, welcome.
Thank you.
I wanted to make the connection. So I know that Sasria is the headline sponsor of the Insurance Apprentice, not of TIA Talks, but that might change after this episode. But you are the headline sponsor. And without Sasria being on board, I know that TIA wouldn't be on television coming up now. Riots, congratulations on where we've come, or where you've come of TIA. And tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. And it's not just TIA.
Yeah, I think I'll start with, you started introducing me when you mentioned innovation at Sasria. And I want to say great minds think alike. I think that's where the connection also comes, because they do think out of the box and innovate. And Sasria just saw the bigger purpose of what we are trying to do as an industry. I'll step back later into the start of this, but the education, the awareness around insurance is so key. And what better way to explain insurance and create awareness around what we as an industry do and try to do and try to help people than on national TV in a reality type show where we combine it with some proper drama. So thank you, Sasria, from my side again, for partnering with us, because without you, most certainly we wouldn't have been able to really start creating an awareness. And I am so excited to start sharing this with the national.
Can you give us something for the new season? Just a little spoiler.
Goodness.
Something that I can go
I
on.
think if some of the contestants are listening to this before the time, there's some of them that's going to trend more than they wish.
So it's proper drama.
They are. The education is real. I've watched another episode today. The education is real. There is most certainly a very key awareness around insurance elements, what we as an industry are trying to do. The fact that we are trying to create products for people, the fact that we want to pay claims, the risk management Mpumi mentioned, it is really coming out in this episode. But what attracts people more than mixing it up with a little bit of drama,
and
spice,
personalities,
and there is some proper drama. And what one of the episodes that are really exciting that people are going to watch is one of the other things we're trying to do on top of the awareness and education is come and work in an industry with so many opportunities. We have to create future leaders, and that is one of my purposes with the Insurance Apprentice is creating future leaders from people within the industry. But if we can attract the bright minds who want to come and choose insurance as a career, this episode 3, sponsored by Insita, is going to blow your mind.
Oh wow! I'm looking forward to it. For those of you guys who are keep emailing me, WhatsApping me, asking me about the show, I know nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to interview all the guests or all the contestants that get kicked out of the show.
Yeah.
All the guys that ended up like me, and then hopefully I'll interview the winner one day. Speaking of me being kicked out,
Yeah.
okay, I wanted to touch on the tasks because you mentioned that there are real life scenarios that we actually bring into the tasks, and then products are actually created out of the tasks that we do on the show. And I know that on the Sasria episode that I was a part of, we were part of such a cool initiative, and our idea. I spoke to Muzi at Sasria, and he said that they are developing something along those lines, and based on that idea. So it's such a cool thing that we can actually contribute to, and it's a real contribution into society. That was one small example, but I know that there's other stuff happening behind the scenes that has actually recently come out from TIA and stuff like that. Can you guys maybe give me some info on what's happening behind the scenes?
I think without going into too much detail, I think a very important thing to mention and touch on that is that we are definitely addressing societal issues. We're talking about the real stuff. It's not fluffy. It's not just a reality show where we make up things. It's real life stuff we are addressing. And in Sasria case, if you ask all the contestants over the last 10 years what's been their favorite task,
It's the Sasria task.
it is with 90% of the contestants, and I'm not just saying
The
this.
10% are probably just CAs or something that are trying to enter
Sasria's
TIA.
been the favorite task because it's so real. It's
Yeah.
always been just so real. So, yeah.
And I also find the Sasria task actually brings us a lot closer.
Yeah.
It's a task that makes us think about how, as a community, we can assist. And I really like that from the task, because it really is, yes, it's a solution in insurance and those type of things, but there's a real factor and a societal factor that comes into play with that
100%.
task, and I love it. Riots, there's also something else that you do, and it's actually your day job. TIA has now probably become a way bigger distraction than it should have been.
Yeah.
But there is, and I love this publication, it's called the FA News, and you are the editor-in-chief.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and you are not the founder. Your dad founded it.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about the FA News, because it's the largest publication in the financial services industry.
Yes.
I'm yet to be featured in it, but it's okay. Tell me a bit about that side of you.
So, yes, thank you. So, yes, I studied communication. I had no idea what was my life plan was going to be. Studied communication. At that stage, my dad was a broker, independent.
For his sins.
And without making the story too long, the puzzle pieces just fell into play, and I decided to, after I've been a lecturer at Technikon SA in communication, which is now UNISA, I decided to join my dad. No idea what I was going to do, but of course, I'm not really a journalist.
Yeah.
But it came out that I am an entrepreneur and I can market quite okay. So I joined my dad. I started building a family in between, took a break, came back because life happens. Started joining my dad again. And then my dad passed away very suddenly, no long illness. It was like literally a month in hospital, passed away. And there I was. What now? Long story short, my mum sold the business, and 8 months later bought the business back from the guy she sold it to, because we
The
just
brokerage?
didn't. Sorry, no. The brokerage was there, and he started. Yeah, I left that important part out. He started the publication. He was on the board of the IBC,
Okay.
and for the older generation who's listening, the IBC was the predecessor of the FIA, so it was the Insurance Brokers Council. But IBC, Luasa, and Sasria merged, and they formed the FIA, which is the Financial Intermediary Association.
There's legacy here.
Yeah, my dad was on the executive committee at the IBC, and he started the first publication at the IBC. And that is how he got involved there. So he had the brokerage, he had the magazine, and
it was on paper, and it still is.
It was on paper, and it still is. But in hospital, just before things got really bad, he signed off the last papers to sell the brokerage because that was a negotiation that was happening way back. That was, he wanted to focus on the magazine. And how did that happen? I mean, this papers was signed 2 weeks later. My dad passed away. My mom sold the business. I bought the business back, and I purely focused on the magazine, which is a magazine, a newsletter. We focus on advisors, brokers is our audience, but the whole industry reads us. For those who need to do CPD, we've got 36,000 people doing CPD
Guys,
on our platform.
do it through the FA News. I promise
Continuous
you.
professional development.
If you're a CFP, do it. You need
Yeah.
35 points, and I got most of them from the FA News.
So we do print. I don't think there's any other publication that prints all the editions anymore. We print 6 editions. We are digital. We do newsletters. I do interviews. Yeah, we are really the go-to, and we hear that often. And we just love making a difference in the industry. And the extension arm is TIA, where we change lives. We make a positive impact in people's life, and that's.
How did you come up with the idea of TIA?
So now this business is mine, right? I had to make it work.
Yeah.
My husband, are you sure you're going to do that? Because we actually took extra bond on our house to buy this business. And I'm like,
Oh, man.
yes. And I was young. And I like I said, I had no idea that I have a little bit of an entrepreneurial mind in my system. And I
Maybe
saw...
it's the desperation.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I saw this idea on a UK newsletter called The Broker Apprentice. It was very boring. I'm sure none of them are listening.
Even
but
if they are, it was probably boring.
Yeah, it was one company. It was all these very dull people in their suits talking about. No one got fired, so it was 5 different tasks, 5 people, and then they just added up the scores, and someone won. And I thought,
There's something there.
there's something.
Yeah. Sure.
11 years later. And every year we started, I took a leap of faith. My colleague, my business partner, Michelle, she sometimes just like hold her head if I have an idea, because she doesn't know what's going to happen after I say I have an idea.
Yeah.
And this one just exploded, and the industry really, really bought in because they could see the difference. I mean, for 10 years, this was a social media,
Yeah, like Facebook Live.
Facebook Live,
YouTube.
And now I cannot describe the excitement
National
of
television.
really changing more lives.
Wow. Well, I'm excited for national television.
Yeah.
Maybe it goes hand in hand with changing lives. I'm just excited to be to see all of it on TV.
Insurance on TV and creating something hopefully positive about the word insurance, that people are going to say, actually.
And create a positive mindset around Sasria too.
Yes,
you know, I mean, that's quite cool because I mean, it's a
100%.
big partnership.
Yeah.
I like, I mean, it's obviously educational, and there's a lot of stuff that we touch on to change this, to change things. But there's also a real element where we're looking at talent and we're seeing actually who is the best and are they professional and how do they do their jobs and those type of things. So it's a massive job interview too, because the opportunities that come out of it also are crazy.
Yeah.
Not just job, but network with all these things. So kudos. I've got 2 players in the industry that aren't just role players that you look in a textbook and you say, who are the role players? You're actually role players and role models in the industry. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And on the
thank
point
you.
of networking, I think people don't realize the networking opportunities that you have when you join this program. I mean, you can talk all the people.
So just on a side note, before we cut to a break, there are entries open now for the next season 12 of the Insurance Apprentice. So if you are under 35 and you've got some experience in the industry, send through all your information through to the TIA. You can go onto the website and you can check out the link to apply. And we see where it goes, because I think it's just going to get bigger and better as it goes. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll get over 1 million views on this
definitely.
On this
That's
season.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And hopefully don't forget the little guy. Okay. I'm just here doing the podcast. Okay. But we'll cut for a break now, have a bit of coffee, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
The insurance industry is changing fast. The way we work, the risks we face, and clients' expectations are evolving every single day. That's where Sapiens comes in. They're building cutting-edge technology that helps insurers stay ahead. streamlining processes, reducing inefficiencies, and making the entire experience smarter. If you're in the industry, this is the tech you need to know about. Learn more at sapiens.com. Okay, so we are back, and I wanted to touch on, we had a great story from Riots now, and it's so special to see the relationships being built and them just flourish. And I wanted to touch on that relationship a little bit, Pumi, with the Sasria tasks that come into play. You mentioned the climate change risks that we're seeing and other risks that are kind of coming about in South Africa and globally. What products or what products are being developed behind the scenes, maybe, or what ideas or innovation can we kind of look forward to from Sasria? And also just in terms of the tasks that have been set up for the contestants, what ideas and what products are being developed that have come from TIA? If you can maybe put in one or two for the viewers.
I will leave that to Muzi and Renette are best placed and so on, because I came just in after July 2021. Yes. So one has been really.
But also you're a busy guy. No. We need to put it into perspective. Okay. I started the podcast saying one of the most powerful. I'm not going to say that I'm using a tongue in cheek, but
it's been about, you said something very profound, that Sasria tasks are special. And I started thinking, why are they special? Unlike other insurances, Sasria covers human behavior. Human behavior is a bit difficult to predict. So for instance, and that's why it brings people together. That's why it forces people to think. Because generally, if I were to insure a motor car or even somebody's life, more or less, I have an idea around, the theft incidents around South Africa of motor cars. So I can work out what my premium should be, and so on. Whether you are in the Western Cape, Gauteng, or KwaZulu-Natal, there is ample of data. If I'm doing a life insurance product, I've got certain assumptions about mortality that are published by Stats SA, and I can build using that. Yeah. When it comes to Sasria, there are too many variables that we do not even understand how they link up together. Yeah. So I would say to you, most common question I get asked, when is another big unrest going to happen in South Africa?
They ask you that?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot, and I'm like,
Okay, firstly, I don't know how you're going to know the answer.
Exactly.
Okay, firstly.
And the second one is only after I retire.
Exactly, yeah, that's the answer I give, so that the guys like Muzi can inherit. The right answer is I do not know, because I cannot predict human behavior. As much as we see protests increasing and so on, they do not always translate into damage and the like. So that's that's what makes people will say yes. For instance, poverty, and I say you know what, the provinces with the highest levels of poverty actually have less protests. Forget damage to property.
Wow.
They have less protests. So is there really a relationship between the two or not, and so on? So those are the sort of things we have to keep on thinking about. So that's that. And then from an innovation point of view, or the products that we have down the line, generally, I think it's been government stance since 1994. At least we know we've had ANC run government for at least 30 years, and then now we've got a government of national unity. And I think that stance is going to persist, which is, if the private sector is good at something, the state should not get involved.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Sasria, we'll only get involved where the private sector no longer has appetite.
Okay.
Which means that we're going to always be going into the riskier areas. Because the reason that the private sector has got no appetite
is because it's risky.
It's risky. And,
and then we get complaints from clients saying, the insurers, they're just not covering me for this anymore. And actually, we've got someone trying to cover us.
So we are trying to get into that. So like a couple of things, we're looking at climate change. As you know, the severity and the frequency of those events happen. Just as a by the way story, that that I can speak about. So Musa and I worked at the Land Bank some 10 years ago, and we dealt with crop insurance. And there was an institution that we dealt with there called the Agricultural Research Council. So that's where South Africa has got some of these amazing, intelligent people who focus on just doing research on agriculture. And there was a young chap, he was doing his PhD in his early 30s. And he was trying to create a link between atmospheric pressure and climate change. So the one thing about, this is what I learned, this is why I love insurance so much, because you learn things that you do not know, they will never teach you at school. So I was like, okay, now you've got atmospheric pressure and climate change. Why atmospheric pressure? As you know, maybe Jason, you bunked that class in grade 11 or 12. Is atmospheric pressure is linked to the position of the moon.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Okay. And the position of the moon, you can play it back 100 years.
Oh, wow.
You will know where the moon was 100 years ago, and you can play it forward.
Sure.
So if you've got that correlationship, more or less, then you can tell if there's a relationship between atmospheric pressure and climate change. You can tell how the climate is going to change
because of the sea.
Because yes, exactly. So you can see all of
Well, the moon controls also like the height of tides and all of those things.
Exactly.
So the coastlines would have changed with the position of the moon, probably too.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And then his prediction was, over time. Remember, this was 10 years ago, 2015. Yeah. 2014, 2015.
When you say 10 years ago, I think 2005. But anyway.
Yeah,
wow. 2015. Okay.
Yeah, 2015, 2016. And he said, like in crop insurance, the N1 from Johannesburg to Cape Town is, funny enough, very critical. Yeah. So anything to the west of the N1 will be drier. And everything to the east of the N1 will be wetter. And KwaZulu-Natal will be even more wet. Wow. So we need to prepare from an agriculture that where we are planting now, which was then in the northwest,
is not where we're going to plant
in the future.
Yeah.
And you're going to have more rain and so on. And guess now, 10 years later,
what's happening?
That's what you're saying. I mean,
give that man a buzz.
Exactly. And so then you can start preparing for it.
Yes.
And so South Africa's got this amazing
I
talent.
have a question.
Yeah.
Because you said something about preparation.
Yeah.
You heard the conversation 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What did we do to prepare?
Well, then you start informing policy from an agriculture. Like, for instance, you say, okay, reserve more land in that particular area for agriculture so that you can secure your food security in the future. I mean, one of the dynamics in KwaZulu-Natal is, for instance, the Ingonyama Trust, where the most fertile land is under communal land, which makes it not as attractive to do commercial farming. Yeah. So now we worked out as to how then you transition those lands into commercial farming so that you can ensure your food security because your crops, your grain is no longer going to come from the northwest. Wow. So there were those sort of developments. I mean, there was a Kgalema Motlanthe Commission, which sort of says, okay, that land should revert back to the state and so on. So there are a lot of political considerations, but at least you can tell policymakers, this is how then you need to start behaving, and this is how you need to start doing things. And you'll find a young entrepreneur, he wants to plant maize in the driest area. And you say, chap, what? I can give you the 450,000 rand for you to do the crop and so on. Yeah. But it's not there. Yeah. Go and plant somewhere. So it does have direct effects. So we are at the foremost. I mean, in Sasria, you ask, yes, I am sort of busy, but what I enjoy about being CEO, I always say I'm like a conductor of a choir. Yeah. I don't need to be good at playing the instruments. But I've got some fantastic people that are strong, that are fantastic, that are passionate as well about this kind of stuff. So we've got people who are passionate about climate change. So that's the one area. The second area, I mean, which is why we are involved with TIA. I mean, you said people younger than 35. It's so nice to be 35 and you're still considered young. But
hey, I'm 34, so I'm trying to stay young. Okay?
Yes, exactly. And For us, I think in everything that we do, we want to put youth at the center of what we do from a risk point of view, because generally, I mean, I spoke about 1976, it was young people. If you look at the Arab Spring, when you had protests in the Muslim communities, it was young people. And if you look at all protests, generally, it's the young people. We've got a situation that is unraveling in Kenya. It started last year. Last week, they were celebrating 1 year of those uprising in Kenya. So the young people are having run-ins with the police as we are talking now. Sure. So the young people, we need to give them hope. And by being involved with the Insurance Apprentice is to say, how do we nurture this mind such that people know that, there is something for them in the future. So one of the things, I mean, I'm talking ahead of the products. One of the things, and I must give credit to the Namibian insurer. So there's an equivalent of Sasria in Namibia.
Nasria.
It's called Nasria. So when I went and visited them, they say, oh, so we've got a collaboration together, exchange of skills, this and that.
And also when we need a border letter.
Exactly. Works very well.
Works very well, yeah.
Works very well. We should do that for Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Botswana as well. But he's got a lovely...
There's too much unrest, I think, in this.
Look, that's where you should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's got this product where he's encouraging banks to finance young people's businesses.
Wow.
And basically how it works, it's a credit guarantee product.
Yeah.
So how it works is that a young person needs a loan of, let's say, 200,000 rand. Then the bank says, okay, we'll advance that. But the bank is in for, let's say, 30% of that risk. If that young person fails to pay, then Nasria steps in.
Wow.
And then the government and the person then pay the premium.
Wow.
So in that way, all of a sudden now, you are opening the floodgates to make what was probably not bankable before a bankable. So just imagine,
it's also access.
Exactly. Can you imagine, like, not everyone is going to win the Insurance Apprentice. I mean, you got kicked out.
Yeah.
But
thanks for the reminder.
Oh, man.
But
thanks for joining TIA Talks. We're done.
Yeah. But here is a positive thing. Yeah. You are successful. So cool. Being kicked out does not mean
it's not
your
the deal.
idea.
Yeah.
It does not mean your idea is not bankable.
Yeah.
It's not so I can imagine that you get some of those 5 people and they come up with all these fantastic ideas. And yes, they do not win, but then they need some form of funding and finance to get them on the go.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So we are looking at that. So that's going.
Sasria is actually looking at that.
We're looking at bringing that into South Africa. So
you're gonna bring a tear to my eye.
Yeah. And for me, we keep on talking about youth unemployment and the risk it poses to the country. We need to get young people employed or create their own jobs. And what a better way of
there's a proper synergy there.
Yes, of doing that. The only thing about when you are a state-owned entity, you are a creature of statute. So I can't do something unless the law allows me to do it. So it will require some changes to legislation, and that's the thing that we are currently busy with within Sasria and Treasury, where we're engaging Treasury to say, okay, you need to change Sasria's mandate from the 4 product areas that we operate in to broaden it to where the private sector fails to come in. So that's just a snippet of the stuff that we are. Those are really the 2 that sort of excite me. And I'm sure one of the tasks that Muzi gave you, because I know he's passionate about it, is, the small enterprises. Now the biggest challenge, I mean, Jason, you spoke about it. You said the Sasria premiums is very low.
Yeah.
So if, for instance, like when there's a protest, you've got the elderly lady, normally it's a woman. So okay, there are some young men now coming into that informal trading sector. He's got a vegetable stall,
Yeah.
a fruit stall. He's selling it. He probably went to Johannesburg market, or where I come from, there's a market in East London, to buy this stuff so that they can sell it. And then there are people protesting it and they damage it. Now, the premium for that will be less than 15 rands a month.
Yeah.
And
But that's a lot for that person.
it's a lot for that. It's a lot for that person. It could be lower, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
The challenge that we have is, how do you collect the money?
Yeah.
And as we see this digital evolution, and as we see the usage of your cell phone,
Yeah.
and the moment that the South African payment system gets to a point where you're gonna have free payment system for amounts below a certain amount,
Yeah.
and that's what the Reserve Bank is working on.
Okay.
We believe then, if we can link to the cell phone, the person can buy the product, insure it immediately. They send us $10 or whatever
Yeah,
the
and
amount
it's
is,
sorted.
and then it's sorted.
Or do it annual, $100 and it's done. You know?
Well, yeah. Remember, to them, those amounts,
Yes.
yeah. And so currently, I mean, how much is your debit order cost?
Yeah.
So the debit order cost is higher
yeah.
than the Sasria
But
premium.
it also opens up so many doors for other like innovative
Exactly.
insurance products to actually be released by
Exactly.
the private sector too.
Exactly.
Because I feel like micro insurance is something that has been spoken about,
Yes.
but no one's doing anything about
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
You know, yes, I know there's research and things that happen behind the scenes,
Yes.
and they're building products, hopefully, that can do something. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the products is the easier part
Yeah.
of the whole thing. Like, I get asked, I said, guys, I can come up with a product.
Yeah.
But the distribution, I mean, you are
Yeah.
a broker.
Yeah.
You won't want to sell in that environment
Yeah.
because it's just
I'm not going to get
worth
my
it.
premiums.
It's not your return on time.
And
is,
that,
it's
yes.
not. It's not worth it, and so on. So you can't play it. So you need definitely a different kind of a distribution model. And I believe digitalization, usage of cell phones, and so on is key to that. So we're just waiting for the technology to sort of catch up.
Arrive, yeah.
And I think, I mean, if you look at places like Kenya, in fact, most of sub-Saharan Africa, except Namibia and South Africa, and mobile money has taken off.
Yeah.
Whereas in South Africa, I think because our banks are just generally good, that mobile usage
We don't need, yeah.
you don't need it. And entities like MTN, Vodacom are continuously looking as to how we can do it. When that technology catches, I think Sasria will be in a better position to be able to sell those products.
I think we all will be,
Yes,
to be honest.
exactly. Well, it will benefit the whole industry
Yeah.
as a whole. Yeah,
Sure. I think there's so much that we could speak about.
definitely.
And Rionette, I'm going to probably end with you now because I spoke to Mpumi most of the time, I think.
I'm happy about that.
And I'm also happy about that because I'll see you next time.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I don't mind. But the big thing for me is that there's so much change that is happening and that you guys are bringing to the table. You're actually transforming the industry that we do love.
Yeah.
And that's the point of TIA and TIA Talks for me, is that we actually can just tell people about what's happening and hopefully people can get involved and actually put their brains and pen to paper and kind of really add to this conversation in some way, shape or form. So we spoke about how you have impacted this industry, and usually I end off by asking, what's on your heart and what's your burden and responsibility for this industry and what you take and carry for the rest of it. But I'm not going to ask that because we've spoke about it all. But I would like to actually give the mic over to you guys, and I'd like to ask you to say something to the youth of in SA that's listening, especially the ones that wanting to get into the insurance industry or that are in the industry, that gives hope to them, because some of them might not be in a situation of hope, in a place of hope. And I honestly think that we could be hope bringers in this industry. And so Rionette, I think I'll start with you.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you for the opportunity. I think from my side, it's just follow the season of the Insurance Apprentice. We've done it on socials, now it's on national TV. There's something in it for everyone. There's a message, there's a glimmer of hope, there's an idea, there's people you might want to connect to in every part of this journey. One of the things that we are doing now, more than we have done with previous seasons, is we share the stories of our contestants a little bit more than we've done. And if you listen to some of the people's stories that are taking part, that are part of the top 10, you will have hope, because you can realize that that no matter what you go through, there's people that's been through really, really hectic stuff. And they are there. They are telling us their stories. And I hope that will give a lot of people really hope for
I'm sure it will.
their future.
I definitely think it will.
Yeah.
I think that's a lovely touch from whoever the producers and writers are of the show.
You're
Rionette.
going to be emotional, and you will
yeah.
have a few tears. I promise you. They are amazing, beautiful stories of people that really were down in the dumps, financially, emotionally, and they came out and they are there.
Yeah.
They're making a difference, and they are really stepping up and getting out of their comfort zones. They are giving hope. Most
I'm looking forward to it. Mpumi?
Look, for me, I can go on about this. It touches me, firstly on a personal level. I mean, what people don't know, Rionette did an interview she interviewed me. She didn't mention she's also got a TV thing.
Oh, Rionette's got a little podcast interview. FA News, follow them, social media.
And all of that. You know, how I ended up in insurance.
Yeah.
You know,
Go and listen to
that is in a story. I dropped out of Vets University. I was doing engineering. So I failed.
As one does in second year vets usually.
Exactly, yeah. Engineering.
Yeah.
And then I dropped out. And then I called this company. I mean, if you know Jorison Street at Vets in Braamfontein, up the road where it's now Cosatio House.
Yes.
There used to be an insurance company called General Accident. So, I went, those old folks.
You just walked across the...
No, I called. And I said, can I speak to the Human Resources Department? I'm a vets engineering dropout. I would like to get a job.
Wow.
And I remember, I can imagine the HR lady at the time was a lady called Elizabeth.
Oh, wow.
And she says, pop into my office. I like you already over the phone. And I popped in and she says, by the way, we're recruiting these law graduates to do claims. But look, if you are admitted to vets, it means you are smart enough. So we'll give you a try run and see. And then the rest is history.
She took the shot.
Yeah, she bet on me.
Oh.
And
what is her name?
Elizabeth? It was Elizabeth. I forget her.
Well, Elizabeth, if you are watching, I'm sure you'll recognize.
Look, this was way back in 1986. So
maybe if you're not watching from above, maybe I don't know.
Exactly. So fantastic human being, and that's where I got the biggest. So you could consider yourself a failure. The reason that I couldn't continue, my parents couldn't afford the bursary. Once I failed, my parents couldn't afford the bursary. So I had to go and work. There was no other option and so on. So I did work and here I am now. So to young people, the first thing is just don't give up. And so on. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of toxicity. There's a lot of things that might push you in a different direction. But by being here and having your thoughts and so on, you can really make it in life and so on. Education helps a lot. I've subsequently studied, but generally you can do it. Then there's a second thing. Now I remember the person who told me this one. The second, after General Accident, probably the three companies that have defined my insurance career, and I think Sasria is just taking it to another level, is I'm saying to us General Accident. The second one was Hollard Insurance. And Hollard Insurance, I met a phenomenal human being. A guy who used to run it was Miles Jaffet. And there I am, fairly still young. I was in my 30s now when I joined,
not too young, apparently.
I was in my 30s and so on. And as we transition to 1994, and so on. And he gave me an opportunity to start the first black-owned engineering, your underwriting management company.
Wow.
So
What was it called?
it was called Zimisele, which means determination to succeed.
Yeah, I
So-
love listening
so
to this stuff.
he gave me that, but there's one advice he gave me. In this era of social media and you want things immediately,
Yeah.
he said, you know what, Pums, I can see you, we could talk like that. You can see your dad is trying to move things like this and that and that. But there's one thing you must always remember: you cannot compress time.
Wow.
So let things happen in their own time. Don't try and rush it. It will, and so on. So for those, who haven't got hope, there's no short path to success. Is you need to put in the work, you need to put in the grind. And right now you might feel unappreciated, but I will tell you, it will benefit you at the end. Thank you.
You are speaking directly to me. And Pumi, Rionette, this has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And I really do appreciate your time. Thank you for making time for me. And for those who are listening, I'm pretty sure they're going to see this and they're going to love every second of it because they're going to get so much value out of it. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
much.